So I'm so pleased to introduce our next speaker, Suchi Reddy. Suchi is the founder and CEO of Reddymade Architecture and Design. She's an award-winning architect, and her talk is about designing the future. Really, how do we shape this world we need by bringing in the designers and the architects and showing us this incredible, beautiful future that we can build. She designed the first flagship retail store for Google. It's LEED Platinum, showing the humanity of technology right in New York City and Manhattan. She also was commissioned to design the interactive artificial intelligence and light sculpture called me+you for the rotunda of the Arts and Industries building of the Smithsonian. And I was just there 3 weeks ago, and it's an incredible sculpture. We're very fortunate to have Suchi with us. She's won numerous awards, including the New York City Design Award, Interior Design's Best of the Year Award. So please join me in welcoming my friend Suchi Reddy.
Hi, everyone. I'm delighted to be here with you guys. Thank you for being here. And I want to thank Sun Valley Forum and, of course, the amazing Amy Christensen. She talks about everyone else's courage who's up here, but I want to give a little shout out to the courage of our Amy. Great. Thank you. Appreciate it. I'm here today to talk to you because I truly believe that our environments affect us incredibly deeply. And the more we understand about this relationship through interdisciplinary work between architects, scientists, and technologists, the clearer the case becomes for what I call design justice, which means the ability to give people environments that allow us all to experience our full potential. We cannot think of our health as separate from the health of the planet, and we cannot think of our well-being as separate from that of any other being or species. So over the past 20 years or so, my practice, which is based in New York and is called Reddymade, and a quick shout out to my team here because I never make it anywhere without their hard work, has been looking at this kind of continuum between personal and planetary well-being through the lenses of intersecting with neuroscience, art, design, architecture, and trying to understand over the last 10 years through a field called neuroaesthetics, how our brains and our bodies are affected by our environments and the atmospheres that we're in. So the underlying ethos of this approach is my mantra, and it's called form follows feeling, which is a twist on the famous form follows function. And this is because I truly believe that the way we feel is affecting our bodies. We all know this. There's a lot of analogous evidence for this, but there's also a lot of scientific evidence for this. And if we can figure out how to make environments that make us feel better, I think we'll get to a place where we can really make some large-scale, incredible moves within the design world to really see how we can make a better home for us, a better place for our planet, and for everyone else that's on it. So what I'd like to do is actually share a little video about an installation that'll explain this idea of neuroaesthetics to you. It's a translational field. It's putting together the work of scientists and designers to really see what we can do together. How does knowledge come together across these disciplines and silos? And one of the reasons also that I'm here is because I'm hoping that if any of the work that you see inspires you, I'm really interested in working with people from outside of my field. Please get in touch with me and let's see what we can do together. So the project was called A Space for Being, and we launched it in 2019 in Milan. It was a temporary installation. And we designed it in collaboration with Google and a lab called the International Arts and Mind Lab at Johns Hopkins, and a furniture company called me+you. And the idea was to create 3 different spaces that had exactly the same program. It was a living in a dining space, but they had very different fields to them. And Google made a band that tracked your metrics, and we were able to reflect to people where their bodies were more at rest, really just to show them that design impacts your biology. And how does it do that? So I will be quiet for about 5 minutes and let you watch this.
The way this project is unusual is that we are actually pursuing a principle. I really believe that form follows feeling, and feeling is really what space and architecture are about. Space actually affects people.
Design matters. It's why we spend the time making the decisions we do. Those things that we as designers intuit, neuroscience is now proving have an effect. Google created an exhibition that is showing design's impact on our biology.
The way that I explain neuroaesthetics is really simple. It's basically how your brain changes on the arts. When you have a heightened aesthetic experience, like a piece of music, a sunrise, things that really elevate your everyday experiences, they change you. They change your biology, they change your mood, they change your emotion.
I called Suchi Reddy and I said, taking the neuroaesthetic principles, could you create 3 different rooms that would evoke different responses?
The goal is to see how people resonate with space and to really find out whether what they think they resonate with is what their body is actually resonating with.
We respond to the aesthetics of our environments, whether we realize it or not. The band can demonstrate with data from the sensors that actually is happening. Heart activity, respiratory activity, skin temperature, skin conductance. We figure out from the data which room is the one that feels the calmest or the most at ease for people.
Where does your physiology feel most peaceful? I think it's what people are searching for. The space between the notes, the place where they can come and just be.
The interiors where we work and where we live have a deep impact on our well-being. We've always known it and believed in it, but we haven't been able to quantify it and prove it. You enter a space and it's like, I like it, but why?
This is about data used as a mirror back to yourself. Data is just a bunch of numbers, and we wanted to make it artistic in its expression.
It can be really hard to put an aesthetic experience into words. But suddenly by combining science and technology, we get a new language.
We've selected room 2 as the room that you were the most calm in.
Maybe a watercolor can tell more than 1,000 words.
Technology has the ability to help you know yourself better. The problems of the future are only going to become more complicated. Solutions have to happen in this collaboration of technology, the arts, and science.
So we keep these ideas alive in all of our work, and I'll take you through a quick tour of a lot of micro and macro projects. I thought I'd start with the birdhouse that we just installed, and then take you through a high-rise and an idea about climate change that we can show you. This is actually a brand new project. We just launched it. I installed it in the Brooklyn Botanical Gardens in New York. It's for Carolina wren, a bird that has architectural preferences, my perfect client. It likes domed roof, it likes side entrances, and this is part of a great project called For the Birds. Guys, look it up if you can. It's got beautiful music that accompanies it as well, and you can help support the birds. This next project I'm showing you because of our interest also in sustainability. This is a house we did in LA. This uses water management strategies, passive shading strategies, and post-consumer, post-industrial steel in all of its construction. It's part prefab, part custom, and really was an incredible solution to building on a very difficult, steep site. And I had the fortunate experience of being able to do it for a longtime client of mine. It's one of my favorite projects, so I thought I would share it with you. It's won a bunch of sustainability awards. It also was very clear to us that no matter what scale we work, we can always think about the planet. This next project is, we were shortlisted for this high-rise. This was, it was called a women's building, and it took a women's prison that was decommissioned after Hurricane Sandy in New York City and turned it into, or wanted to turn it into, an aggregator for not-for-profits that are working on women's and girls' rights issues. And we wanted to create a form, again, here that evokes a feeling of strength and flexibility and reflects all the great work that women do, being a lantern in the skyline that shows people where we are in the history of a city. And the ribbons of the new building come down and kind of touch the old building on the top to create this kind of conference space that is the space where if any woman of note was speaking in New York, this would be the place that you would find her, and you would know because of the lantern in the skyline. This is a project that we didn't get to build, but I'm hoping someday to do that. This is an ecological power plant that we designed in Taiwan, and this takes the basic buildings of a power plant and then turns that into cultural programming and makes it a space that protects nature, that surrounds it, and therefore creates this kind of relationship between nature and power through people. Lastly, on the sustainability track, I'll come to the project that Amy mentioned, which is our flagship retail store for Google that we designed. You might ask, what do they make? They make a lot of things. The idea here was a new focus of our practice as well, which is really looking at this new space of how we're inhabiting technology. I think most of us can say that we live in a somewhat hybrid space now, and the quality of that space is also something that's really important to me. And I'm starting to think about how do we feel in digital space, how do we feel in hybrid space. This was a beginning project of it, and was really looking at how do we talk about technology, but in a kind of a way that's warm, that allows you to exhale when you enter the store, that gives you a place for wonder, for playfulness, for discovery, everything other than, you know, aspiration and feeling like perhaps you needed to be someone else to belong in that space. I think we've been very successful with it. This is actually, it's also an experience space. You can learn about different kinds of technologies, but mostly technologies that are really looking at how you connect community. Because one of the major interests of my practice is also really looking at how can we be inclusive, how can we be thinking about diverse populations that we're designing for, where are the chances to bring up questions of equity and of justice. This was one of those spaces that we were able to create where we can talk about projects like that. This shows Google Translate and all the good that it can do in the world for people who need it and can't read, etc. And then this project is the one that Amy so kindly went to DC to see. This is part of my artistic practice, and so as by now you can tell I'm a bit of a, you know, do everything girl. But this, I was commissioned to create this project. It's supported by Amazon Web Services, and it was really a sculpture that asked for an expression of how humans and technology can think about the future. How can we think about a future with technology? And what I wanted to really bring to the fore here is the idea that it's our wisdom that matters. So what I do is I ask people to give me a word for their future, and they get to speak it into these clusters of LEDs that are called mandalas. And based on the AI and ML that's in the sculpture, it reads you and will give you back a mandala, a light mandala here that's specifically yours, that's based on your voice, your emotion, the word that you used, with visual code that's overlaid on it. And in the center, you'll see this tall piece. I call that a totem. It's always weaving together all of our ideas of the future. So there's a digital calendar of our emotions. And it's been one of the most heartwarming things of my life to really see how people feel when they know that how they feel is actually affecting everyone else as well. There's also a digital version of this. It's online. It's called me+youfuture.com. If you feel like playing, go on it and put in your words for the future. But for me, really, this piece was about when you ask somebody to give you a word for their future, they stop to think. And I think that's the whole piece for me. The rest of it is really how I create the atmosphere and the experience to kind of take you there. This is just to give you an idea of scale in the space, how big it is. We had, I don't know how many visitors. We're still waiting to get the final count, but it's been incredibly popular. And this is one of my favorite photographs of this wonderful family that was actually, you know, having fun with the sculpture. So lastly, I'd like to leave you with a project that we created many years ago. After Hurricane Sandy, MoMA put out a call for people to, in the community, to create videos and ideas about how we could think about protecting our coastlines. And we came up with a series of interventions and strategies that we could employ in the Rockaways, which are, you know, basically the first area to flood in New York City when we have a hurricane, and to look at ways in which we could harness water and wind, where we could create pylons for floating boardwalks. And I had this kind of crazy idea of creating kind of floodable gardens and really trying to see if we could create maybe an alternate coastline around the world that could culturally draw from the places that it was in and really become a whole new barrier that could also be a space for development, for communication, for regeneration. So these are some of our little crazy ideas. And this should play, but it isn't. Okay, let me see. Ah, there it goes. So imagine being able to go around the world knowing that you're traversing a space that can actually save the places that it surrounds, but also draws from that culture and allows you to experience it. There are several places where some of these strategies are in effect. We're really hoping that we can connect all of those people and start making maybe small chains of this, so that we could really imagine something new and different for all of us. That's the end of my keynote, but what I'd like to say is really design is an incredible, innovative tool that can carry us all forward, and architects really need to be at the table with you, designing not solutions to the problem, but really helping to define the problem creatively so that we can really come to the best of all of our potential. Thank you.